It was wild. That was taxing in like a good way, you know? Like you kind of like, you've left it all out on the field. I honestly, legitimately think that that was one of the best weeks of ministry that I've ever had. Just every moment was just so fulfilling and so rewarding. You know, everyone comes to camp with their own story, and you kind of get to hear like, get like glimpses into some of those stories. Your leaders are praying for you every single day, and you don't get that at a regular camp. Even for some of them, you know, it might have just been that week, but to be able to, you know, speak into their lives for that week, that means a lot. It wasn't intimidating or pushy, but it was just really open and inviting and welcoming. If you want to have that impact on someone where, you know, you're helping them develop skills that they can use in the short term, you know, whether it's like learning how to bike, learning how to play basketball, all of those things, like how to make friends, those types of things, you can have that impact, but you can also have an impact on someone's eternity, and I think that is a really, really cool and really special thing.
All right. Well, welcome, guys, to, I guess, the finale of our relationship series called The Ick. And if you are new here, I just want to say a huge welcome to you guys. If you got invited to the Project Stampede, I'm glad you're here. And I hope that you can see some value in tonight, and I hope you can enjoy the experience of this service. For those watching online as well, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, tonight's a special night because last week, at the end of the message, we had a chance to put on our socials the opportunity for you to ask questions. And so there was a bunch of you guys who asked questions, and funny enough, and accidentally, this is what we kind of expected, a bunch overlapped, and so we kind of grouped them all together and made this format where we're going to be answering some questions tonight. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say, just as a conclusion to the relationship series, if you're a part of it, you know, if you came to one portion, two, if you're here for the whole thing, I just want to clarify and explain once again the purpose of the series. It is something on our heart to teach you guys as young adults, because it's something that we've all gone through before, just what the Word of God says about navigating relationships. And so we believe in this church, in Jesus, the life, death, and resurrection, and we believe the Bible is the authority, and it essentially gives us the viewpoint and perspective on how to navigate life. It talks about everything, including how to navigate relationships. Now, here's the thing. When we're talking about relationships over the course of this past month or so, I understand and realize that there's over 500 of you in the room, and every one of you have a different, unique story, different background, different upbringing, different values. And when we talk about this kind of stuff, it could hit different. It could hit people in a different way, in a different weight, different manner, magnitude, whatever you want to call it. And so, what I wanted to say was that what we teach, we're good with it. We understand the content that we teach because it is backed up biblically, but we would never want to be insincere to certain situations. If you were hurt or brought up in a way that maybe the message is stung a little bit. But I do want to give you the opportunity that at the end of the series or whenever you want to come find me, Pastor Jeff, Pastor Abby, Pastor Brett. If there's something that you need clarification about, or you're confused about, or maybe you took something, okay, I want a little more understanding on this particular thing, we are so open to just kind of continuing that conversation with you, because we want to make sure you know where we stand and how we want to deliver those messages and stuff like that. So that's our heart for this message. We would never want to ostracize or isolate people or single people out. We want to communicate truth as best as we can, but also allow you to have the time to come to us and ask us any questions whatsoever. With that being said, today I'm really excited to do this little panel with some of our friends, some people that are familiar to us. In case you don't people up on stage. I just want to introduce them real quick to you. From furthest to closest, we've got Pastor Tomas. He used to be the lead pastor at the project a few years ago, and now he's just pastoring another church in the city. Yeah, give it up for Pastor Tomas. Next up, we have Pastor Drader. He is on staff with us at Hope City, and he's specifically our Terwilliger campus pastor. So we have 3 locations right here, Kingsway and Terwilliger, and he manages that one. So give him a round of applause. And then the next 2 are very special to us. Well, number 1, Alandra. This is my wife, Alandra. So you give her a round of applause. No need for introduction. We already heard the cheers. And last but not least, we have Natalie, and she is Pastor Brett's wife, who just led worship with us tonight. So you give her a round of applause. Now, I'm pumped that you guys are on stage with us, and then I wanted to just kind of break the ice a little bit with you guys, give a chance for our crew to know you guys a little better if they don't already know you guys. And so Thomas, I know you have a bunch of kids. Tell us, who's your least favorite? I'm just kidding. So, check. Okay, we're good. How long were you pastoring the project back when you were here?
Just under 7 years.
Yeah,
yeah, from 2014 until, I don't know, well, whatever, almost 7 years is from there, I guess. It's hard. It's like right after, I think we started meeting again after COVID. And then that's when there's a transition with me and Jeff, so.
Yeah. And what is, just kind of more out there questions, what is the, one of the most simple foods out there that you just hate eating?
Sorry, I didn't hear your question.
A simple food out there that you just hate eating, that you do not want to eat. Like me, is celery. If I pick it out in an egg salad, I'm gonna it looks like I'm gonna have a seizure or something like that. But for you, it could be something different.
Sorry, Ruben, I've aged, and so my hearing has gone.
You're unbelievable.
Cucumbers. I do not like cucumbers.
So you don't like water?
Oh, I like water, but I don't want to chew my water. I don't like it.
Yes, no, that makes sense. Thank you so much. That was a really beautiful, eloquent answer. Paul, I have a different question for you. You live in Leduc.
That is correct. I live on an acreage just outside of Leduc, yep.
On an acreage, now, again, I don't live on an acreage. I live in classic suburbia. But let me ask you, when you manage an acreage, what is your least favorite chore to kind of maintain your home?
That's a good question. We have a lot of lawn care to do. We have 15 acres, so probably weed whacking.
Weed whacking?
That gets a little tiresome after.
How do you mow your lawn? You got scissors to go through the whole thing, or do you have some sort of tractor to
I finish off with scissors, but I start with a riding lawnmower.
I can tell your standards are really high. You want to make sure that's really pristine,
Oh, 100%. You got to make it look good.
Professional soccer stadium look. Alandra, what's your favorite thing about me? I'm just kidding. Tell me, what is the craziest fashion trend you've ever rocked growing up?
Oh. Okay, when I was in elementary school, I don't know why this was a thing at my school. I don't know if it was a trend across the schools. I also went to a private school, so maybe that had something to do with it. But for a while, we would wear jeans with a skirt on top. That
was a thing?
Yeah, it was at my school. I don't know.
Did you rock that?
Absolutely.
I probably still would have loved it.
She's still rocking that.
On you. And Natalie, you are a crazy dog lover. I know that. You have a dog. What's his name?
Murphy.
He's cute.
I should have brought him tonight.
I know. Murphy and the pony would have loved to hang out together. But the question for you is, if you were to be a dog breed, which one would you be?
I would say...
I'm great at these questions, aren't I? My goodness.
I would say my personality probably represents a golden retriever. Because I'm be my friend, hey, hello, very social.
Okay.
But they shed a lot. So maybe I would go for a Murphy, like a Labradoodle. They don't shed, they're fuzzy, they're cute.
Okay.
It's a win-win.
So you don't shed? Fair.
I think I actually shed more than Murphy, so yeah.
Well, that's good to know. Well, clearly the ice has been broken. But we're gonna jump right in because we want to honor you guys' time. How this is gonna work is what we've done is we've grouped. Now, if you're back here in October, we did kind of this format, but if not, it's all good. Let me explain it to you. What we're gonna do is we're gonna go through 6 combination of questions, and what's gonna happen. And if you have your phone, I'm gonna ask you to bring it out right now and hop on Instagram and just check our Instagram account, because what's gonna happen is that 6 different times you're going to see a 2 options of questions, okay? 1 and 2, and then you are actually going to decide which question you want answered on the spot with these guys. And so I do want to consider you guys' time, but if towards the end we're just crushing through this thing, and if there's some questions that perhaps we didn't get to and we have time to circle back to, then we'll totally do that. Does that make sense with you guys? Good. Okay, so let's put up the first set of questions on the wall, please. So the first one is, what should I say to a guy that I'm talking to who uses Ephesians 5:22, wives submitting to husbands, out of context to gain superiority over me? Or, during the Bible times, dating did not exist, and people would just get married and would have sex once they're married. How do we translate that concept to modern day, where we date people for years before getting married and cannot have sex? So those are the 2 questions for you guys. We'll have a little bit of background music, hopefully. So I'm going to give you guys 30 seconds to hop on Instagram and choose which one you want answered. So we'll give you those 30 seconds starting now. Who wants to kick it off?
Sure. Yeah, it's an understandable question. I think it's like, you know, when people are like, oh man, like the good old days. And that's really good for white people, but there was like so much that happened. And I think we have this like, you're like, who is this guy? There is this false nostalgia that people have that are like, well, they were able to do that back then. It's like, yeah, but also, like, if you think about, like, the rights that a woman had, which were none back then, one of the reasons why that would happen is because it was really transactionary that way. It's not like your story where they met at a bar and hung out and fell in love, and then it's just like, let's just have sex, we're married now, babe. It's not that at all. It was like, if a woman were to, for example, get divorced, or the husband divorced the woman, they would have no rights. There would be nothing. Not even kids would. And so I think it's really hard to be like, to have this false nostalgia of what the good old days were when there, it's like, it's so different. You've got to take everything else into context. Biblically, the thing we have, though, also in scriptures is teaching that, like, you got to obey the laws of the land. And part of it is, for protection, is that there is a legal proceeding for it. And the difficulty, though, is that people are getting married later and later on in life. That is a huge reality. And to be honest, like I said, I spent many years here at the project leading it. One of the things I really had to wrestle with was that idea that it takes a lot longer for people to get married. They're waiting a lot longer to have sex, all that jazz. I get it. But I don't think, just for this question specifically, I don't think you can just look back there and translate it to now, because that is just not the same context. You've got to take everything else with that. And here, the idea is that there is a legal proceeding that needs to be done. That's how it's recognized by the government and by us, and that's just kind of the way it's handled. Jesus, he's teaching in the New Testament, and he talks a bit about divorce. And one of the reasons why he does it is because some men were just divorcing their wives out of nowhere. And he's like, that's just not the way it should be. There has to be something to protect the woman, protect the kids. Really, it's about protecting women and making sure that they're not left destitute. And so, again, all that to say, I get it. I think there is, of course, a very practical thing of how do we handle when we can't, it's just not the same way. But it's a false nostalgia. And to be honest, if I can just be blunt, it's not a really... I don't want to say that you have a bad question. I would say you probably haven't thought, and this is okay, you probably haven't thought deeply enough about what you're asking. Or maybe you're like, dude, I just want to have sex. And can we just do that? And my quick answer is, no, you can't.
I could go next.
Welcome back, Thomas. Thank you.
That was good. But seriously, who is this guy? That's what I want to know. Who brought him here? I would say there's a lot of things in the Bible that you could look at and go, how is that relatable to today's age? I feel like if you look at the Bible, you could say, like, there's a lot of things it doesn't talk about specifically. It doesn't specifically say in the Bible, don't go to the casino and waste all your money there, but it says to be wise with your money. So I think that there's things in the Bible that it might not say explicitly, but it's still relevant today. And I do think sex is one of those things that is really clear in the Bible, that it is a sacred thing to be enjoyed in marriage. And I think that that's one thing that's cool about sex, is that God isn't like, oh, sex is gross, you can't have it. He's like, you can have all the sex you want, just at the right time, at the right place. And so I think to look and say, oh, that was written so long ago, it's like, well, that applies to so many different concepts besides just sex. So.
Mm-hmm. We're doing it for time. Is there one more person who want to come and pipe up, or you guys feel good? Do you feel like that was good? Yeah.
Honestly, and I think the only thing that I'm going to add is that this is difficult. Like, it is one of those things that you look back at, you know, in the Bible, and you're like, oh, this is hard to translate because we do have to wait. But it is doable. And it is just one of those things that we have to do in our culture today. So,
Can I add one more thing?
Of course, man.
Thought about this. You know, just so you know, because some people are like, hey, it's very hard to wait to have sex. And it's true. I get it. And I want to be, I genuinely want to be gracious with that. But I'll be honest with you. It's not like people are getting married and not committing adultery. Just because you get married and you have sex doesn't mean that you're just be like, oh man, this is it. No, it's actually, your sexuality is something that you're going to have to wrestle with the entire part of your life. And if you can't, at this age, get control of your sexuality and think through it objectively and have people navigating your sexuality with you, what it means to be a sexual person in light of who God is, who He made you and His plans for you, how do you think it's going to be easier when you get married? It actually will get more difficult. Getting married and having sex doesn't solve your problems. It actually exaggerates problems that are already there. And so that's why I say the question maybe is formatted a little bit wrong, because I think it's one of those, what you really need to wrestle through is, what does your sexuality look like in light of who God is and who He's called you to be? Because if you don't do it now, I promise you, literally and figuratively, it'll just get harder the longer you go. And marriage won't fix it.
I see what you did there, buddy. This is the guy.
This is why I love the project.
This is, yeah.
Say what you want to say.
This is the guy who did Alandra and I's premarital. So listen to this dude. Okay, let's move on to the next question so we can go through this, and if we have time to circle back on another one, we will. Let's take a look at the next set of questions here. The first one is, and this came up actually quite a bunch, does God support long-distance relationships? Or should I entertain the idea of dating someone who isn't Christian? Entertain the idea of dating someone who isn't Christian. So it's up on the Instagram account. If you want to go ahead and vote for the question you want answered, you have the freedom to do so. I shall tell you, it's the same percentage as last time, 67 to 33, in favor of B, the second one. Should I entertain the idea of dating someone who isn't Christian? Pastor Paul, what do people in Terwilliger think about this?
I'm glad you asked. It's a big problem in Terwilliger. A very Terwilliger-specific problem that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Should I entertain the idea of dating someone who isn't a Christian? What do you guys think? Well, they seem to already know the answer, but yeah, the Bible talks about not being unequally yoked. Why would you want to be connected to someone who's going a completely different direction in life than you are? Why would you want to be connected to someone who has a completely different set of priorities than you do? That's just going to cause tension. It's going to cause stress in your relationship. And I really think it just gets magnified and magnified the longer you go on, because then you start having kids, and now you've got different ways, different priorities of how you're going to raise kids. Why are we going to church? We went to church last weekend. And I would say this too, the person who's not a Christian usually wins. It's easier to pull someone down off a chair than it is to pull somebody up onto a chair. So you can entertain it, but I wouldn't do it. When I do pre-marriage counseling with couples and one of them is not a Christian, it's a red flag. But I would also say this: don't become a Christian for someone else.
Mom.
If she wants you to become a Christian so that you guys can stay together, don't do it. Do it for yourself. You have to find Jesus for yourself and have a relationship with Jesus that's between you and God, not because someone wants you to have one. That won't last. So that's what I would say to that.
That's a great answer, man. And I think as well, and it's funny enough because I've talked to young adults who think that this is a really life-altering decision. And again, I understand where they're coming from, but some people actually fear that, like, dating or liking someone who isn't a Christian will actually affect my eternity. It's not going to affect your eternity, but it is a thing of values, right? When you grow up and you have two different stories making one, it's just going to create friction and going uphill your entire life. And I just think it's going to be exhausting, right?
Yeah, you're going to get tired of trying to influence the other person.
Exactly.
And it just becomes exhausting, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And how long do you want to try and do that? Well, I'll change him, or I'll change her. Just don't. Just don't try.
Yeah. What do you do?
I could add on to that. First and foremost, flirt to convert is just not it, okay? You could not flirt to convert. I have tried.
Or AKA missionary dating.
Missionary dating, whatever you want to call it, just don't do it, okay? I dated someone for 2.5 years, and the whole time I'm like, they're going to come around, they're going to come to church, they're going to, I'm going to get them there. And it just never happened. And, and I'm not saying that it's like a never going to happen thing, but I do find dating someone who wasn't a Christian and now being married to someone who is a Christian and we're both on that same trajectory, it makes such a difference because you're able to, you have something that's in the center of your relationship, something you're both focused on and something that's kind of, guiding you guys together. Whereas if it's just you and you're just on your own and they're listening to who knows what, the world and whatever's guiding them, it's just not going to work. And honestly, having two people that are following along in like the Lord's will and having someone that you can pray with and do life with and lead Bible studies and go to church with, it is just unmatched. So no flirt to convert, just don't do it.
Yeah. Anybody else? You good? Answered great? Wow. Good job. And I do also want to say, too, we want to consider everyone in this room because there are people in this room that, yes, they are Christian or Christ followers that love Jesus, but also some in this room you're maybe spiritually curious, you're investigating what church is about, and who knows, maybe you're in a situation where you're investigating Christianity, maybe you like someone who is a Christian, you're here just pretty much to, impress them or whatever it is. That's a whole different subject on a whole different day, but I would say, the concept of Christianity isn't something or an idea just to kind of abstractly follow, but it is a life transformation thing. And if this is something that you want to explore, ask questions about, then please come talk to us at the end of the night, and we'd love to walk you through this. Let's move on to the next one.
Ruben,
number 3 in here.
Ruben, can I just say something?
Absolutely.
Can we unseat this question out of the Christian conversation?
Okay.
Because I always really felt like this was almost offensive. And so let's take it out. Let's say you have someone who is from two very different religions. Marriage is already very hard. It's about managing each other and being able to find a way to find middle ground with each other. And there are many things you can have differences on, but the very values you build your life on, you want to try to find as much agreement as possible. And so, like Paul touched on, all of you guys touch on, it is a sense of doesn't matter what religion you are, if it's differences in that, when you're raising kids, when you're, doing life, when you're dealing with hard things, when you become a regular part of your habits, when there's just not alignment, what happens is either there's compromise or there's chaos in it, or there is this chasm that grows between you. And it's extremely difficult to build a life with someone when you have such opposing systems of value. And the reason why we talk about this at church is there is this reality in Christianity where there is a third party in a marriage that both of you are submitted to. And to have someone who's agreeing with you on who we keep our hearts soft before, allow you that place where there is friction, you can come to a place of going, we got to go to God together for this. But unseating it from the Christian point of view, if you can't do that together, no matter what religion or non-religion you are, it becomes extremely difficult for marriage. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that. Awesome. We're going to move on to our third option here, set of questions. The first one is, how far is too far before marriage? And the second option is, does God have one specific person for you to marry? Are soulmates real? So, good luck choosing that one. Okay, let's dive into our next question here. The panel thought option A was going to win, but I will tell you that it is 59-41 in favor of B. B. Does God have one specific person for you to marry? Are soulmates real?
I personally think, no, I don't think that there is one specific person for you out there and you have to find that one specific person. I think that you could find multiple people that would fit your life really, really well. But I do believe that, like, once you're married and there is, like, kind of like this soul tie, this soul connection, and you will find that within marriage. And that's, like, God's gift to us. Like, I'm, like, yeah, I don't, like... But to say that there's one person, I think that's really a hard expectation to also have on yourself and to have on other people, that you are looking for this one perfect person for your life. And I think, honestly, you can miss out on somebody really great for your life if you have that kind of mentality. So I think you have to just be really careful if you have that mentality. But personally, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. Good perspective. I mean, great perspective.
I was going to say, you could marry your mailman if you're willing to make it work. Like, I honestly believe that you...
Not that there's anything wrong with mailmen.
There's nothing wrong with mailmen.
Some great mailmans out there, probably.
Mailmans are great people. But I do think if you're willing to put in the work, I think you can marry anyone. And that's why I don't, when people are like, is there the one? I don't think there's the one. I think there's 1,000. I think, but I do think whoever you choose to make it with will be the one.
Yes, when you've picked that person, stop looking.
Yes.
Stop searching. Yeah, I would agree too. I think that's a very hard... If you live in that reality, how are you going to find that person? How are you going to find that one person, and how are you going to know when it's that one person? And I would maybe be a little bit cautious of this comment. If someone makes this comment to you, God told me that you're going to be my wife.
Oh, baby.
That's careful of that one. Maybe he did.
Say, he didn't tell me.
Oh.
Or just run away.
Or just run
away. But you're right. It's relationship, marriage. It's about, okay, I've chosen you, and I'm going to bring my best self to that relationship, and I'm going to pursue this relationship with all that I have so that we can make this work. And you look at arranged marriages, they used to, I don't know what the stats are now, I haven't looked up in a long time, but arranged marriages used to have a less divorce rate than not. Why? I don't know. They just chose, obviously, to make that relationship work. And you can stop anytime at making a relationship work, putting in the effort if you want, but the relationship's going to suffer. When you choose somebody, when you go all in and say, you're my person, bring your best and work at it. It doesn't just because you get married, well, now it's just easier. No, it actually gets harder, probably. Because now you're living with the person and they chew loud and they breathe loud and they smell and whatever. And it can become more difficult. But if you just say, every day I'm going to choose to love you, that relationship will make it. Because love is patient, love is kind, does not envy, does not boast, is not proud, all the things. And if you bring that to a relationship, even if they're not your soulmate or whatever you want to call it, that relationship will make it if you both have that mindset.
Awesome. That was like really, really well put. Thanks, man. Thomas, you pipe in? You're good. Man, these guys killed it. Fantastic. Okay, well, let's move on to our next options here. Oh, what a doozy. Can there be reconciliation if your spouse cheats? What steps do you take? Or...
Oh, that got a reaction.
Spicy.
Oh, hot topics.
Okay. And tips for getting over an ex. Wow. Wouldn't want to be in those seats right now. Okay, so this was pretty 70-30 for option A. Can there be a reconciliation if your spouse cheats, and what steps do you take? Ladies,
That's spicy.
What do you guys think?
Okay, I think there can be reconciliation if a spouse cheats or a partner cheats. I do think it would be extremely challenging, and I think there would be a lot of steps that have to take place in order to get back to that place of trust. Many, many steps. So I do think I've known couples that have gone through, cheating and things like that, who have made it out on the other side. It took them years and lots of counseling and community to get through it. But I also will say, correct me if I'm wrong, pastors, but biblically, I do think that if that covenant is broken, I think you have the choice on whether you want to reconcile that. I think if that covenant is broken, then you can decide if you want to continue that. But maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, this is a very, very, this is a really difficult reality. It is, like Natalie said, one of the only, I guess, approved, maybe, I don't want to say approved, but allowed kind of reason to break a marriage covenant. Because, and this is just the Bible that just takes marriage very seriously. So I don't know if you know this, but marriage is a physical representation of the covenant that God makes with his people. It's a life and death commitment. And so when he commits himself, for example, just so you know biblically, it actually says that God makes the commitment first to us before we do, which is pretty awesome. For him, it's a life and death. And just so you know, God doesn't die. So it's an eternal relationship. And so marriage is a picture of that, is our way of experiencing what that feels like to have this unconditional love. And so when that covenant is broken, there's a death of the covenant. I agree with Natalie, actually. I think there can be reconciliation. The couples that I've known that have processed it, one thing is this, is I think forgiveness has to happen no matter what. Forgiveness takes one person. Reconciliation takes two. And so forgiveness is your responsibility. That can take time. And it doesn't mean you just put it on the rug and just you trust the person again. But there has to be a process of forgiveness. Reconciliation doesn't always happen, though. Sometimes the other person's just not willing to do it. But if there is reconciliation, you need to know no one just falls into cheating. It is a very long process of thought and deliberate actions. And that needs to be undone. And to walk very deeply into that brokenness, unfortunately, you need professional help to work through all that mess. That's what repentance is I've got to wade through this death. And can there be new life? And I think God can provide new life. But every couple I've talked to have had to do it. It's a very long, arduous process. But those who've found reconciliation have found new life. But man, that's hard. So can there? Yes. What steps do you take? Honestly, that's for a counselor and a therapist to tell you, because every relationship is just so unique. Mm-hmm. And that's what it requires. None of us are able to tell you that. The only thing I can tell you is go see someone who can help you walk through this, for sure.
Yeah, that was eloquently put. And when you said, just want to pick on that line, you said, when people do find that reconciliation, they find new life. And I think that's so important to hear and understand. Not thinking this reconciliation, now all of a sudden you're living with this kind of chip on your shoulder for the rest of your life. I've seen couples, where tough stuff has happened between them. Reconciliation has happened, and they've actually had just this really beautiful life, raising a family and having a great time together, individually, as a couple, and as a family unit. And so when there's reconciliation done well and properly, that new life, just to really hit on, is like money. You can find new life. You are rebirthing this new step, new covenant with your marriage. And so, yes, I totally agree with what you're saying.
If you're not married, you may not like this. If you're not married and your fiance or your boyfriend or girlfriend cheats on you, drop them like a bad habit. And let me qualify that. Because some of you, but, I didn't, but. Okay, number one, you're not married, which means you do not have this, but we had sex. Aren't we married biblically? We already answered that. You're not, all right? So, and you're like, but I'm the one who cheated and I'm working through it. Yeah, then work on your own stuff. Don't drag someone else through it because they don't need to. They don't need to. The most loving thing you can do is release them from that. And the most loving you can do if you've been cheated on is to release yourself from that and them from that, because they got stuff they got to work through. When you marry someone, you marry what you have. You don't marry what you think you're going to have down the road. And so you really, you need this. I know it hurts, but it's, yeah.
Gosh, getting a little warm up here. No, the beautiful said, you guys. Let's move on to the next two because we do want to go through this, but want to honor our time to answer these properly. This is.
I'm in no rush, Ruben. You're the one rushing us.
Says you.
Right?
You're right. Well, that's awkward. The question 5, or set of options 5. How can you overcome the shame of a sexual past? So worrying about what your future spouse might think, forgiving yourself, past sexual partners, body count, etc. Or my boyfriend doesn't think porn is a sin, even though he says he's a Christian and he still watches it. What should I do? Now, let me just say about that question too, let's not nitpick the gender specifically. This can go both ways for sure. So keep that in mind. But yeah, go ahead and pick your question and we'll, so fun. Okay, interesting. Well, it was 81 to 19 on the first one. So how can you overcome the shame of a sexual past? That's a good one. That's a very good question.
Yeah, I think the word to look at is shame. And we know that God brings conviction. And when we talk about guilt and shame, that's something that the enemy is trying to twist. And so I think ultimately it's coming before the Lord and realizing that you have been forgiven, right? And you need to accept that grace for yourself. And you need to know that you are worthy of accepting that grace for yourself. And I think, honestly, it just comes to praying about it. It comes to having an awesome support system, friends that are going to remind you of who God says you are. And then, worrying about, what future partners are going to think. I mean, there is a risk. If you have things in your past that you have to share with somebody, there is a risk that they are, it's going to be hard for them, or that they're going to be sad that it happened to you. But you have to walk confidently knowing that you have been forgiven, you have repented, you have changed your ways. And the right person will totally be understanding and will find you. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really well played.
That's what I think.
Pastor Paul opened up his Bible, so I'm sure he's ready to drop some truth here.
I was going to start preaching a sermon real quick, so buckle up, everybody. It's going to get... Oh. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is something you have to be open and honest with your partner about. I think that's important. And if you have some really deep hurts and deep wounding from things that have happened in your past, like Thomas was saying too, I think seeking a counselor is wise. Get some help with that if you got some things that you're having a hard time letting go of. So again, that you can bring the best version of you to that relationship. And if there's some trauma and some things that have happened in the past, let's do our best to deal with those as best we can. Just 2 Corinthians 5:17. This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone and a new life has begun. Jesus can make all things new. But our past is still part of our story. And we can't change our past. It's happened. It's done. Anything that happened before you came here today, it's in the past. And we can't change that. But we can change our future, and we can learn from our past. so we don't make those mistakes again. We don't walk into the same relationship where we got hurt in again. We don't do that again because we learn from it, hopefully. So don't just have this cycle of like bad relationship after bad relationship. Learn from it, move on, and be better because of it. And recognize that your identity is not in your past. It's who Jesus says you are. And Jesus says you're forgiven. And you're a new creation. And he makes all things new.
That's good.
Walk in that identity, not in the past that the enemy loves to throw in your face and bring guilt and shame and condemnation over and over and over again. Let's break the cycle. And again, seek becoming the best version of yourself for that relationship. And do your best not to bring past relationships into your current relationship. Easier said than done.
Of course.
We understand that. But if I could put an answer to it, that's what I would say.
It's really well put, you two. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, Thomas, but just a piggyback question off of that. Let's say someone does have a sexual past that they are ashamed of, and they now have to bring it to the relationship. And let's say that other person can't get over the other person's sexual past. Any thoughts you want to pipe in on that, how to deal with that?
Yeah, I'll be both sensitive and insensitive. I do want to be, okay, so let me start with the sensitive side. I guess understanding. When you're processing someone else's past, I get the idea is just like, oh, like, okay, you've got that past. That was either a high value of mine, I've kept myself, or maybe it's just like, I can't imagine what it's like to maybe imagine you with someone else, things like that. Now let me be insensitive. Like, why do you care so much? No, just before you clap.
That's
we only have
a
so
boss
much time.
move.
If someone has a past, they've worked through it, they're processing it, there's some honest reconciliation in their own heart, and they're walking in the right way. The question really is, why do you care? It's mostly driven out of your insecurity, and that is your problem that you need to work and process through and pray through and handle. That's not theirs. Now, if you can't get over that, then you do need to be honest and say, I just can't get over it. But you need to think to yourself and tell yourself, that is your problem, that is not theirs. And you valuing their virginity, let me step back.
This is a sensitive side, right?
Virginity is actually a little bit more patriarchal in its history, where women were deemed a sort of, I don't know what you said, a sort of, like I said, property, and virgins were worth more and things like that, and mostly for women, and which is unfortunate. Now, part of what we need to process also is just, okay, what does that mean for us modern here? But all that to say, the value of having someone to share your life with, to build something with, and you can't get over their past. Are you starting to see maybe it's too big of a deal to you? But if it is a big deal for you, be honest. But again, that's your problem. That's not theirs. If they've been processing and working through it, I'm done.
Great stuff, guys. Great stuff. I love it. Yeah, come on. Those are great answers. Thomas, Paul, and Al. Beautifully said, eloquently said. Now, we're going to kind of land the plane here and get to our last question. Are you guys feeling okay so far? You good? Yeah, you're not uncomfortable yet? Okay, good. Let's go to our last question, and this is it. Does it matter which gender approaches first? How can I approach an interested person without making it weird? You got to see some of the questions we had related to this one. It was so funny. Tips for guys and girls, I guess. Or are we supposed to be actively looking for a spouse or wait for God to bring a spouse for us? The answer or the question that we want answered tonight, panel, to finish it off this evening is, are we supposed to be actively looking for a spouse or wait for God to bring a spouse for us? Do the hard work or just wait for God just to just drop it on your lap?
If you wait, you might not find someone. So it's up to you. I would say it's 2024. If you're trying to find a spouse, get out there. Be active. Look for someone. I feel like the way I've always seen it is, God can't steer a boat that's not moving forward. So, put yourself in places where there might be other single people, the project being one. Join a small group. There's probably lots of single people in there. That's actually how I met Brett. Spicy. So I would just say, absolutely, you should actively be looking. If that's something that you want in your life and you want a spouse, absolutely be actively looking. Can God sometimes drop someone in your lap and be like, yep, that's the one? Sometimes, I'm sure, but I don't think it hurts to put yourself out there. Get on dating apps, whatever the kids do in 2024, swiping and things. So, yeah.
Wow, you just aged yourself so much right now.
I'm just kidding. I was on Bumble once upon a time in my life.
We didn't answer the how far is too far question. I'm not sure got to be dropping someone on your lap necessarily, depending on how far is too far. But. I don't know, quick show of hands. Anybody met their spouse because they came walking into your mom's basement while you were playing video games?
You wish.
Didn't think so.
So, yeah, you nailed it. You got to put yourself out there. You got to go meet people. I mean, online dating has changed the game. And maybe for the better, maybe for the worse, but it's working for a lot of people. But I think you definitely have to put yourself out. God's not just going to, maybe he will, but it's because you're out there. Like I say, if you're in your mom's basement playing video games, she's not going to come walking in. I hate to break it to you guys. Go put yourself out there. Try some pickup lines, I may not be Dairy Queen, but I can treat you right. Things like that. They work really well. Ladies love that stuff.
Wait, what did you say?
Please don't use those.
Dairy Queen used to have, their slogan was, we can treat you right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I may not be Dairy... Oh, these people are leaving. I've offended them. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. Big Dairy Queen fans. They've had enough. I apologize.
Run.
No, but yeah, you got to put yourself out there. You got to go for it. But put yourself, again, to go back to the unequally yoked thing, look where you're going to find someone who has similar interests. Right? If you're a believer, yeah, the project is probably a great place to find other like-minded people. And if you're a believer and you're looking for a Christian spouse, maybe bar hopping isn't the best place. You might not find as many people like-minded there. You might, but maybe not. So go to places where you're going to find people who have similar interests, similar likes, similar beliefs. That'll help just get you fast-track your relationship rather than having to find out, oh, we don't have anything in common. Oh, this was a waste of our time. So maybe find a common ground as a starting point.
Yeah, good job, guys. Anyone else want to kind of final thoughts there?
Also go to Bible college. That works well, too.
I will say this. I did 4 years of Bible college, and I came out single, so I'm still waiting for my refund.
I'm
Promise.
happy about that.
What?
I'm happy about that.
Oh, you're happy about that? Yeah, you should be.
Yeah.
It's so funny looking at you guys in the crowd. A lot of you guys now are just like perked up. You're like looking around. It's so funny. We're gonna end it off there, guys. Can you guys just give a huge round of applause for our panel? I know we did end a little later than usual, but honestly, in my opinion, I think having a panel, especially some really good people, is always a treat. And so I hope that the answers that they've kind of spoken and communicated have brought some value to you, maybe giving you some little insight and perspective, have little aha moments, light bulbs going off. I do want to say as well that after the service, these guys will be hanging around for a little bit, and so if there was like this really, huge desire for a question to be answered, but it wasn't, if you want to come talk to one of these guys and kind of pick their brains a little bit, they've all agreed to stick around for a few more moments. But other than that, it is our Project Stampede today. And so we got a lot of things going on, a lot of fun happening right now. And so just to kind of give you a recap of what's going on, number one, in the food area, in about 5-10 minutes. Oh, no, they're already done. They're ready to go. We got some hot taquitos ready to be served to you guys for free. They're going to be walking around with some massive platters of taquitos. So if you want to go and grab 1, 2, 3, 4, it's totally up to you. We also have root beers on sale for $2 at the cafe. We have a photo booth with real life pony. And also, we have a mechanical bull that you guys can ride, $5 a ride, $8 for 2 rides. But other than that, thank you so much for being here, guys. Hope you have a good night. Go have some fun at the Stampede. It's going to be a great time. God bless. We'll see you guys next weekend.